a lot of good, honest Americans and not the liberal retards, because I edit them out of my life. They're really kind of useless clutter in our population. They don't think, they don't act right. They undermine our nation. I just edit them out. Just don't talk to me. Don't look at me. I'd rather ignore you. Um, they don't understand that there have been a few trillion seized from crimes against humanity, those responsible for crimes against humanity. I like to call it with two names: elite and royals. And they overlap. And a lot of them were in Europe. Unfortunately, Western Europe is loaded with very evil leadership and royals. And the United States leadership is just as evil.
Well, then
No,
I don't
no,
know then.
you
I'm not
can't
sure.
say the most powerful bank will be killed, because the most powerful bank and its friends will make a decision on which is killed.
Then I don't know. It's a good question.
It is. It's a tough one because it gets very much muddied by the fact that in February of 24, J.P. Morgan got captured by the White Alliance. And J.P. Morgan had two big enterprises. I don't want to call it enterprise. Let's just call it projects that they were managing. One was the Epstein enterprises. They were in charge of all the money flow with respect to Epstein. And we don't want to get into all that. The other thing that they were involved in was Chinese Communist Party and military espionage, weapons purchase, treason, and bribery.
Good God.
It's called Data Corps.
Good God.
And JP Morgan managed both. So they got captured. What I heard, and this was back in March of 24, what I heard from my sources was that a dozen JP Morgan executives of the rank of vice president, including Jamie Dimon, were told, we want you to do the following. We want you to work for us, and us is the White Alliance,
Right.
or you're all hang.
That's quite the ultimatum.
Exactly. So you can guess that they chose to begin working for the White Alliance. Now, they came back and said, all right, we'll work for the White Alliance, but you got to help us offer cover. We can't go walking out in white hat uniforms. We need to look like we're still part of the cabal, which means JP Morgan got converted into the mole role.
Okay.
Now, if we get the crisis and JP Morgan is in the mole role, the role of being moles and informants and agents that are not well recognized, my guess is that there are going to be a lot of cabal creatures who say, we don't want to make decisions with JP Morgan in the room because we know who you
Something
are.
we know something's up, yeah.
I think JP Morgan is going to get dictated by the white hats. They're going to be dictated,
Okay.
and they will be told, we've decided which Wall Street bank to kill and why. And it's the Bush narco bank,
Ah,
Bank of
interesting.
America, Bank of America.
Yeah, actually, that was going to be my second guess was BOA.
Because they're a Bush narco bank. Now, tough question. Does BOA have more money laundering than JP Morgan?
I don't know. I'm going to say
I think
no.
I would think that Bank of America is the leader because
Okay.
because Papa Bush built that side of the bank. But there are a number of different indications out there. BOA has shut down. I don't think that they've shut down the most, but they've shut down a lot of bank branches.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yep.
Okay,
But there was
you
no
might,
notice. There was no notice they were going to close the branch.
right? I think what you're referring to is something very different. Online access got interrupted.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, and your card doesn't work at the ATM machine. We're having a problem with the network. Okay,
Yes.
Bank of America had more troubles with their network. They had ATMs, and they had more trouble online with access than any other Wall Street bank. And I think they were almost like trials. How much will the public tolerate? Okay. Anyway, to me,
Interesting.
to me, they're pieces of a mosaic. Okay. And this marketing research analysis is difficult because we're dealing with incomplete information, sometimes false information, and sometimes it's speculation for information, and sometimes it's very incomplete. Sometimes it's rumor. So what you have to do is you build a mosaic.
Hmm.
And after 2 or 3 months, you step back and say, my gosh, they're going to kill Bank of America.
Do you think
That
that they're, go ahead, I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
no, that's it. And they're testing. Um, how much is left of the Bush family?
Is it possible for the Treasury to take over the Fed and run it, properly?
I don't know. That's a very difficult question. I think Trump is in the process of trying to do that. And it was about 3 years ago, maybe four. The contract had expired, and they were in lame duck territory where the old Fed owners were not owners anymore, and there was nothing newly formed. They just continued to function, and it wasn't clear what the corporate ownership was. It was like a 2 year interim period of great confusion, and I believe warfare in the background, murdering lawyers and murdering accountants. That's what I think happened. And we really don't have a clear picture after some of the dust cleared. I'm told repeatedly, JP Morgan is 35% owner of the Fed. And I
Hmm.
say, well, who are the other owners? And they say Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. I said, okay, that's four. So the other four, they own 15 to 20%. And I hear, yeah, kind of like that. I said, all right, then the head of the table, JP Morgan. Now, juxtapose that, Brock, with the notion that JP Morgan was captured.
Hmm.
Okay, so the White Hats, I believe, have all the information for what JP Morgan was doing with Epstein, all the information with the Chinese Communist Party, and all the information for securing silver supply and suppressing the silver market for sales to China on Chase 1. And they put a leash around vice presidents' necks at JP Morgan to secure silver supply and to make sure the price doesn't go up. Now, with the price going up, I reason that what we're seeing with silver is a removal of China from the price suppression. We're in a trade war with China. We're not going to let them control JP Morgan. We took over JP Morgan. Okay, this is
Why
very
should we?
complex. Very complex. Very, very
So are
complex.
we still sending them silver?
I don't know. If we are, then it's being done on military vessels and in the dead of night.
Okay,
In other words, part of treason.
I got it.
Okay, I believe silver is going to break out, and it's going to be a combination of the Chinese losing control in New York and the Chinese taking control in Shanghai. And I don't know if you're aware, but we have a 10.5% VIG in silver right now. Silver is almost $4 higher in Shanghai than it is in the COMEX.
I had heard it was higher there, but I didn't know that it was $4 delta.
10.5%. When the delta becomes big, one of two things happens. The Chinese say, well, we want to buy a lot more, so let's bring down the price. And, India is going to get a bunch of that, and we are too. The other alternative is we don't have any ability to bring the price down. So New York, you got to come up.
Got
This
it.
is how this is how some of these things are working. Why did silver go from 35 to 39 and they didn't slam it back down? I'm not certain that London posts a price that anybody gives a damn about.
Wow, really?
If they don't have any metal, who cares what their price is?
That's true.
If their vault is vacant. Now, something happened. Kitco stopped posting the gold and silver prices out of London. London is out of gold. And there are many factors to this. London has been moving gold and silver to New York. This is funny. I'm telling you, it's funny because of the trade tariffs. They're moving it to New York.
So they can sell it out of New York to US
And
customers?
yeah, and
Got it.
it'll look like a pure domestic transaction with no tariffs.
Okay, okay.
And they're doing it with I think Wall Street has hired military aircraft to move it. It's a lot of gold, a lot of
Okay.
silver. In addition, London has lost its power in the precious metals market. Remember, they're just a little island. They're a powerful island, but they're less powerful now than they ever have been before. Here's kind of a litmus test. This is a very strange thing to say, but it's part of my thinking process. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a remarkable exposure in the London and British press of pedophilia among the royals and the bankers. Why? Because they lost power. They're
I'm
not ruling
tracking.
the roost anymore. Okay, this is just a piece of the mosaic.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's a big piece. When are you going to pay more attention to Kate Middleton? Doesn't look like Kate Middleton anymore.
Right.
Okay. When are you going to pay attention that King Charles bears very little resemblance to Prince Charles?
Mm-hmm.
When are you going to wake up to the fact that Diana is not dead? Okay, I got pictures of Diana. She looks in her 40s and she got the same, you know Diana's hair, right?
Yep.
You know, it's a bush. It's a beautiful plush bush. She still has it. She said it's going to blow people's minds when they learn what really happened and we come out.
Can't
She's
wait.
right. What are they waiting for, Brock?
I don't know, but I was told a couple years ago that it's roughly a 10-year time frame for disclosure.
Well, it could be on a plan, but I think it's an event. I don't believe in time-based calendars anymore. I believe in event-based calendars for everything.
Well, then
Like,
it's a major event.
well, okay, for example, Jacera and the global funds, that's an event schedule. We're waiting for a sufficient number of globalist elite trillionaires to be killed, to be in exile, and to have their wealth sacked. You can't
Okay.
say, well, that'll be done in 2027. That's on schedule. No, it doesn't work that way.
Got
Not
it.
even
Yeah,
close. Not
I'm
even
tracking.
close. With Diana, the event is those who wanted her killed are dead.